Good morning to you, lovelies out there. Welcome to another edition of Farm Life, your regular family engagements program meant to make us a better version of ourselves to have thriving relationships, marriages, families, and homes. My name is Michael Mensa, and as always, we do it together. Thank you for allowing us into space. Today, the month of November is gradually coming to a close, and it's a good time for us to do some good things. So today we are going to look at 2025 in retrospect so far before it ends. So we are reviewing 2025 to date. We are reflecting on how far we have come as individuals, as a family, as a collective. And then we are resetting, redrawing, replanning, whatever word you want to use for 2026. We are not waiting for 2026 to catch us before we start. We want to look at how well we've done, whether we're able to meet our schedules, our goals, our plans. There's something called a rolling plan where we make adjustments. Often we have to do reviews where we have monitoring and evaluation, and then where necessary we try to adjust them to get the best outcomes. It's said that we often should have SMART goals, where SMART is an acronym, and then begin to proceed through the year. Now, whatever you wrote down, whatever your purposes were for the year 2025, which is gradually ending, what has it been for you? I want to navigate that part today together, and we're sure that at the end of the day, we all be a better version of ourselves than we were before we started. So please welcome. And I'm going to, there's somebody whose voice has been quiet from here for a long time, but she's here today, so we're happy to have her. So I'll start introducing her first. So we have Letitia Ohene-Ifa, co-founder of Leader Fit International, who is many things and wears many hats. Hi, Tish.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to see you. It's been forever.
Yeah, I like your dress too.
Thank you.
Welcome, and thanks for making time to come. Then we have Sylvester Segbaya, who is a public health practitioner, pharmacist, and wears many other wonderful hats, and is a counselor as well. Good morning, Papa Sil.
Good morning, Jim.
And how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you.
And good to see you again.
Good to see you.
All right. So now let's get it right on straight. Tish, you start for us. You know me, I like calling you Tish. So I call her Ohima Tish. So if you hear me calling her Tish, allow me. Me and my things I say can come into trouble. Or somebody sang a
You're
song.
fine.
Somebody sang a song that now know you the assembly. Yes, this is one of your pet topics, I know.
Oh.
So we want to review what must a person do, what must a family do, what must a couple do as the years gradually coming to a close.
For me, first and foremost, it's been one of those years where I think people should first and foremost pause to be grateful.
Okay.
You're here, right? You're here. It means something.
Mhm.
It matters. We currently have about 29 days to go. Of course, there are, you see 31, but there are some holidays. I think we have about 3 holidays. And then, of course, Christmas is coming as well. So practically, you have only about 2 full weeks, 15 days of the year 2025 left. And my first advice would be to stop everything and be grateful for where you are, irrespective of whether you've met your goals or didn't meet your goals. Because I think that gratitude unlocks the doors of opportunities. You have definitely been able to do something. It may not be everything, but it is something. So let's start from there. There's been a lot of changes in 2025 across the world. In Ghana, we changed government, there are economic reforms, there's been fire everywhere. You wake up in the morning, there's fire somewhere. The next minute, there's another fire somewhere. There's been a lot of death in multiple families. There's been new businesses that have been opened, some have closed, people have given birth. Like, there's a lot of things that have happened across the world. Plane crashes is another thing. I mean, people are traveling, but each time you're going into an aircraft, you're praying that you go and come back. You sit. So it's been one of those days, one of those years where if you're not still for a minute, your level of anxiety can skyrocket. So you need to first and foremost stop everything, be still, be grateful. And then when you're grateful, you will know what to do next. So I that's where I would start from. But yeah, we can look at different things. We'll come back into the reviewing, reflecting on the year, some of the decisions, the choices that you've made, some that you have taken. Where has it led you to? How do you reverse the trend? How do you course correct? Is there anything you can do within these next 15 days of active work to recover some of what you had planned? Or would you have to push all of them into 2026? And if you have to push them into 2026, what would that look like? So we can get into all those conversations. And I think that if people asked us specific questions too, it would be good. Then we'll know what to do. But yeah,
Alright.
that's where I will start from.
Great. Applaud the seed, my children will say. Papa, so good morning again.
Yes, good
Yes, so what will your opening comment also be? We are reviewing, we are going to reflect, and we are going to plan or replan for 2026. What will your opening comment be?
Okay, so I couldn't agree with Tish more. It's always good to pause and be grateful for everything, in spite of what sometimes we think we didn't get or we did not achieve. God's been good, we're alive, and it's a good reason to be grateful. As Tish was talking about all the things, I was like, I mean, my year has been very unusual, So I started off the year, because of the space in which I operate, things kind of ground to a halt for 2 months or more. I mean, there was so much uncertainty in the space, and then, well, some projects bounced back, others never came back. Thankfully, our project bounced back, and we had to bring back our entire team, which was one beautiful miracle. So it's just good to pause and think about all of that. And then after that, there was so much that happened, so much work. I mean, last year we started off our project very slowly, and then before everything ground to a halt, then we got so busy. I think probably this is the year I've traveled the most all over the country, in very remote places and all. So you just think of God's protection, God's goodness, God's preservation. Eating from all kinds of places that you never imagined you would eat. You're not sure who cooked the food and how good it was. But in all of it, we've been healthy and strong. So being thankful is critical, it's important. Then also, just counting the small blessings, the fact that you've been blessed with good health, you've been blessed with strength, even the ability to function normally on a day-to-day basis. Even if for some have recovered, some are still in the process of recovering. Each passing day, the ability to breathe in air, drink water, move different parts of your body, they are all reasons to be grateful, and we should never take these for granted. The people around you, those that make you smile, those that give you warmth every day, those that show kindness to you, even those that do not treat you well, and they play an important role in your life. They have a way of reminding you that in spite of the fact that you have enemies, you are still around. So there are many reasons to be grateful, and I would say that not only should we do it as the year winds down, but also it should become one of the habits we cultivate on a consistent basis. And then we can talk about what our wins were, how the things that we accomplished. So typically most people will set goals. I don't know whether everybody does. sometimes I'm not even too sure what the big goals are for some, and whether people really set goals at all. But whether you set goals or not, at least you had some expectations. There were things that you set out to achieve in the course of the year. You want to see how much progress you've made. You want to be grateful. You want to also evaluate how you achieved what you achieved, and for the areas where you couldn't accomplish your desired objectives or goals, you want to evaluate and come to some realistic conclusions on why you did not get where you wanted to get to, and pick the lessons from there. Not necessarily throw your hands in the air, because sometimes we're tempted to say, well, this didn't work out, I'm not going to try it again. But it's not necessarily the end of the road. One of the interesting things that happened for those who do business is what happened to our currency. I mean, it's positive in many ways, in the sense that the currency looks to have become stronger and more stable. But in one particular month, there was a change from 16 cedis to the dollar to just around 10 cedis to the dollar. That's traumatic for businesses, and for people who do international business, for instance, that could be very challenging, depending on which side of the exactly. If you were ordering goods and they had just arrived at the port, you'd be celebrating. If you had just changed a lot of CDs at rate 16, and then the next moment it had all 10 to 10 CDs, so much of the difference hits you real hard. So it's important to look at some of those things that we have control over, and the things we do not have control over. You must recognize that, yes, I mean, I didn't do as well as I expected because of some of the circumstances that were absolutely beyond my control. But that said, what next? Should I lie there? I tell people all the time that if you're walking and you fall, you don't lie on the floor and say, well, I've fallen, and then tell everybody I'm falling, I'm just staying here. You rise up and move on. So yes, some challenges may have hit your business, may have hit whatever you do, but go back and pick up the pieces. As long as you have life, you have the ability to bounce back. A lot of it lies in the power of how you look, your outlook to life, how you look at things. Being very positive, even in challenging moments, is critical. If you set out to learn some new things, and I want to believe that everybody set out to learn something, see what you achieved, see where you are, ask yourself, what can I do to remain or sustain this learning activity, and how is it transforming my life? How is it making my life better? How is it also contributing to making other people's lives better, or society as a whole? How much of a positive impact is this thing I'm learning making on my community, my society, my family, my own life? So maybe those would just be my opening comments for now.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll probably say as well. One of the poems I like is called Desiderata, written by a gentleman called Max Ehrman, many, many years ago. And he says, amongst other things, that go placidly amongst the noise. Let me try and read it. It says, go placidly amid the noise and the haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even to the dull and the ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexatious to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter, for always there will be greater or lesser persons than yourself. There is more,
Absolutely.
but this is just a part of it. I want to end there.
I
I want,
wanted to draw your attention that that word is placidly.
yes, go plus. Okay,
Yeah,
plus it. Go place
yeah,
it.
and
Okay, thank you.
it says that it means in a calm, peaceful, and quiet way, without much movement or excitement.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I want to come to you, Tish. It's resilience. Before we drill down, he took us to where he said that our outlook of life. Sometimes you have the best intentions. You've written out your best plans of the things you want to do. Call it the goals, call it the strategies, the objectives, everything. You've put in, we say smart goals, but specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and then time bound. Smart. You've done all that. And then something hits you. Is resilience a very critical part of having gone here?
Okay, so let me answer straightly and let me put all the things you've said in some kind of a framework for us to work with. But resilience is absolutely critical. It's really we need to all build the capacity to reframe our judgments, to interpret what is happening around us, and to choose what our next right move is.
Okay.
And that comes from resilience. I think that when you do business in Ghana, particularly, you will learn to become resilient whether you like it or not. There's no such thing because you will learn it and you'll have to develop ways around it. So, yes, resilience is key in anything and everything that we do. But that said, for everything we've said, I think we can look at it in 4 different ways. We can review the year 2025, and there are multiple frameworks that you can use to do this. The businesses will look at the pastel framework, and that works for both business and the home as well. So you're looking at what happened within the political landscape, what haven't happened in the environment, what happened within the legal framework, what happened socioeconomically. So we looked at the dollar CD issues, what happened. So you're looking at technology, what has changed. So it's a framework that supports you to understand what really happened during this year. I was in it, I was running through it, but what was going on? So it's a good time to figure that out. So we reviewed 2025. What is the reality before we move to what was my desired results? But what is my reality today? How am I doing right now? So that's one review. Number 2, we can look at reflecting. Reflection because we're looking at the decisions that we made. So this time you're not looking at the pastel, that's outward.
Yes.
That's external. You're looking within to ask myself, what decisions did I make? What were the opportunities that came to me? Which ones was I able to take? Why did I miss them? This is where you're building capacity, right? And resilience.
Yes.
So you need to do that. And then you're looking at what were really the key performance indicators. You said clearly that some people would have set all these goals and then things happen. So when the things happened, what did you do? So we can look at that in terms of it as well. And we can look at resetting and lining. Because for me, I think one of the things we do easily is that we give up around October, right? The year has come to an end. So November is over. We're entering December. Some of us don't want to deal with the traffic, me included. I probably would be the champion of that. I don't want to deal with the traffic.
I don't think anybody does.
Yeah, so then you begin to wind up, but you don't just wind up. What are you going to do with the rest of the year matters. For me, it really matters. Is it that you're going to just simply plan for next year, which also matters, but what else is there? What are some low-hanging fruits that you can pluck? So we can break it down into these structures and look at it in that regard.
Great. Like you said from the beginning, the year is not over, but it's good to take stock now. So you see what little more steps you can take and what you need to realign or evaluate to correct. And underlining all that is an element of how far you go. As I have dealt with people over the years and dealt with myself also, I realized that one of the very big elements is element of personality traits. People overlook it. That's why I asked the question of resilience. Some people, the harder they are hit, the harder they get up. Some people, the harder they are hit, the more difficult it is for them to get up.
Yeah.
And that is not about, first about their person type. So if the person is introverted, they are very analytical, they are very regimented. A sudden hit can distort them so much. If somebody is very competitive, very dynamic, very much of a driving person, the harder you hit them, the harder they bounce back. So in the scheme of things, even how a person reflects, reacts, responds is all influenced to an certain degree. First by their nature, their person type, and then their nurturing, and then their experiences, all forming their outlook of their worldview, and that then comes back to influence what they are. Pastor,
So I think just to say something about where you are, I think it goes beyond personality. So personality is one for sure, but when something happens, the first thing is your default mode to whether you're fleeing, you're flying, you're fighting. So I think that's the first thing.
Right.
So if you can know that, for me, I think if you can know that, then that helps. That for me, if I go into such a problem, I freeze. I want to run. I want to hide. I want to, and we all know it.
Yes.
But it happens before we come into awareness of the fact that, oh, this is what I'm going through, because it's a default thing. So you
Yes.
immediately go into your default mode.
Yes.
So first and foremost, I think that even if you do not know your personality trait yet, but you can understand that this is how I respond to challenges. This is how I respond to excitement. Any news, whether it's exciting, maybe I judge it, I immediately put it in a box, I close it. Whatever your immediate response is, it's critical that you know it,
Yes.
because that is where you're going to build. That's why we're talking about capacity and resilience. So whether it is you like to run away, you like to freeze, whatever your story is, whether it is you're a melancholy, you're choleric, whatever your story is, we're looking at it. We're not saying it doesn't matter, but we're saying that you need to build capacity to be able to deal with it.
Don't you think that it's all part of the awareness that we are talking about? Because you see, if you freeze or you
You're
flee
fleeing.
or you fume or you face or you fight, whatever kind you have, it is based on some elements. Because the difficult part of all this is sometimes you're not in awareness. And you're not in awareness because for you, you don't see it as freezing. You see the freezing as what you do. But what you do actually is that you freeze. And what makes you freeze is sometimes because of how you are wired. And that's what I'm saying. That I listen to people talk differently, even preachers. And when I listen to them, I just know where they are coming from. Because somebody say, but you can't do this. But somebody will get up and say, please give me what's my due. So assertiveness for some is natural. Assertiveness for somebody has to be an intentional activity. And so understanding yourself, and then, which includes all these nuances, helps you to deal with it better. Because often, if you don't know why you do what you do, then that's where the challenge is. Okay, I freeze. So why do you freeze? You freeze because that's your natural default. So what makes it your natural default? You fight because that's your natural default. Somebody's aggressive, not because they want to be, but that's their natural default. What makes them aggressive can be their training, it can be their nurturing, but also first maybe their wiring. So, and you understand that and add this other element, and it helps you to better frame the reality. Because if you're not careful and you don't know why do I do this, why do I cry every time that something is wrong? So somebody who doesn't cry and thinks that will come and tell you man up, you get me, or woman up. But the issue is that when you understand that, I'm an introvert, so things get to me easier. I'm an extrovert, so I'll fight it out no matter what. So It's all part of the bigger narrative. And when we come to Papa Seal,
Yeah. Well, I think Tish was just adding on to what you actually said. I mean, as you said, I also thought of the environment because sometimes depending on what kind of environment you find yourself in, your responses might vary.
yes,
I was thinking typically of soldiers on the battlefield and they're running and there are bullets flying all over the place. If you get hit and you fall, and because you're in a certain environment with a lot of adrenaline running, and at the same time you have if you're fighting with a team on your side, they will edge you on, they'll help lift you up, they'll move you. If you're on all by yourself and the same thing happened to you, your response may be very different. So the environment always plays another a key role, so there are a number of things, the people around you, yourself, your makeup, as you said, and then what's your self-awareness, your understanding of who you are, and then what you also want to be or where you want to get to. So yeah. Anyway, sorry, just go ahead with the question. I just wanted to chip that
that's
in.
okay.
Yeah.
We are now looking at some of the elements that we have to review. There's what they call restraining forces and driving forces or propelling forces that come against everybody, whether you're an individual or a family. But the family is made up of individuals. And so the individual must be up and doing first before the family can function well. And so it can be a couple, it can be an individual, it can be a family with children, little to mid-age to young adults and even to adults. In this scheme of reviewing, we have different aspects of our lives. From some people call them the spheres, some people call them strands, some people call them areas. So you have what you want to call it, whether it's physical, emotional, professional, some even separate social from recreational. You have family, you have friends, you have career, you have recreation and all. How can we review these things well? Must we look first at what we set ourselves to do and how far we've come on that tangent, or must we look at what we've been able to achieve without recourse to what fully we set ourselves to? I don't know if my question is clear.
Yeah, I think it is. And my response would be it just depends. People have ways of looking at things, and there are no good or bad approaches. It just depends on how you I mean, ultimately you want to be sure that you've done a very meaningful evaluation or assessment of the situation, and then you've been able to pick up the lessons, and then also you've been able to map out a plan, where you've had big wins, big small, and it's important to identify wins, whatever it is, in your work or career, in your relationships, in your personal life. You had areas that you had identified as growth areas or weaknesses or shortfalls. You had mapped out a plan to improve upon yourself in that area. You put in place measures and systems to achieve that. You are evaluating yourself 11 months into the year, and you're like, well, I think I've made some very good progress here, and you want to ask yourself, how did I get here? How did I achieve these? And you see that you've ticked all the boxes, or you have 10 boxes, you've ticked 8 out of the 10. It's a good reason to celebrate and to be glad that you achieved that. And then you ask yourself, what about the remaining 2? How do I get there? So you can use very structured tools to do that, which I think is always very helpful, so that you are not very arbitrary or haphazard in the way you handle it. Or you can actually do it in the team, using a team approach, which I mean, I've learned from you. You always talk about how you and the family sit down and ask yourselves the hard questions. So you can actually sit down and say, okay, today we are looking at how we are faring as a family. What do you think? And you take 10 feedback for everybody, so that's just for the family. And that way you get people to give you their candid opinions about what you're doing great and where you still have room to improve. And the element of being willing to take feedback always contributes significantly to whether you're going to become a better person or not. Then you're also looking at things that, well, I mean, nobody else knows, so nobody can give you the feedback except yourself. So you are doing some serious introspection. You're asking yourself, okay, how well have I taken good care of my health? Of course, health people will know a bit about it, but you are probably the best person. You challenge yourself to achieve some goals, maybe walk regularly, exercise, go to the gym, eat healthy. And eat healthy is my big thing this year, because I think we are not doing well as a people when it comes to healthy eating. We're falling for all the bad eating habits, both the food type and the time and all of it. So you challenge yourself and say, how well have I done? What can I do better and differently? Then you're looking at family. Well, I talked about family finances. You're looking at your social life. You're looking at your relationship with people. You're looking at your career or your profession or the work that you do that brings you income. How well are you doing? And you see, sometimes when we look at work, we're just thinking about, yes, how much money did I make? Was I able to pay the bills? But how well is your work also contributing to the larger good? Yes, of society, and then also with the team that you work with, because you may not necessarily be the leader of the team, but there's a contribution you can make that impacts the lives of the individuals. One of the things that I found very, very, very refreshing this year was to have a dedicated time with some key members of my team that previously I'd never done. And these are not the top hierarchy, but those that do the routine things that we take for granted. And I found it so refreshing, and the fact that they had brilliant contributions to make, and they had a lot of good ideas to share. So one of the things we started off with last year was to get like the drivers, everybody to sit in technical meetings, when we have to plan and when we had to review. And everybody had a great contribution to make, which was one great lesson for me, that you should never underrate what people have to add to make the work better. So the drivers are out with you in the field all the time. They make some observations. You, the one who may be facilitating a workshop or doing some coaching, may not necessarily have observed. And when they provide you that feedback, it helps you reshape what you want to do. So that element, and they in turn feel very gratified when they realize that their role goes beyond just driving you around. You cherish their feedback, you cherish whatever contribution they make. So you have cleaners, you have drivers. We did a training some 3 years ago with health workers, and it was with the cleaners. And it was mind-blowing, the feedback. So this was health. We're talking about infection prevention. And they gave us some very interesting feedback. They said that, well, whenever we went for disinfectants, the storekeeper will always tell us that you're always asking for this. So at the point, they were like, okay, we have to find out. So instead of going back on a regular basis when the disinfectant gets finished, they kept diluting the disinfectant. Now, what does that mean? The more you dilute the disinfectant, the less potent it becomes. And so you are literally achieving nothing. If you are using a super diluted disinfectant in a hospital and you are cleaning the floor and cleaning the door handles and everything, you are achieving nothing. So the bugs will still be in the places that you thought you had gotten rid of them. And at the end of the day, you haven't prevented infections. Now, so that feedback meant that we needed to get hold of the storekeepers and let them understand that it's not enough to just control quantities you give out. You should be interested in how they're using it. I mean, then we talked about dilutions and all of that. But bottom line, the manager sitting at a certain point is assuming that his is to put in place controls to restrict how much goes out without necessarily seeing how it's being used and the impact. Now, so the guy stops coming, or if he used to come 3 times a week to ask for it, now he's coming 2 times in a month. Yes. And you're happy. You're like, okay, now you've gotten the drift. But he really hasn't gotten it. He's rather now doing more harm than good. So that element of appreciating where the people on there are coming from makes a lot of difference.
So if you bring it into a family, how can that also help?
Yes, in the family, typically, like, we have this attitude where in most, well, let me not say most families, but in a number of families in our part of the world, the instructions must come from the parents, and the children must be quiet and just listen and all of that, But it's good to let the children give you feedback. It's good to listen to what their concerns are. You may even align with them or agree with them, but that feedback sometimes helps you think about why are they thinking this way. Why don't, maybe you've been given instructions to make sure they tidy up their room consistently for 5 years, and you're not achieving change. And one of the things that my kids are very good at doing is saying, "Why are you shouting?" Well, yeah, you're raising your voice, and they go like, "No, I'm not raising my voice." No. So it's good to take that feedback and say, if I was not shouting, why are they saying I'm shouting? And should I now be conscious of that feedback so that when I'm talking to them, I'm not necessarily shouting for me to feel I'm communicating. And what I notice also is that when you do some of those things, when you raise your voice and they're uncomfortable, at the point they shut down, or they just block you mentally. Yeah. So they're looking at your face, they're looking like they are listening to you, but they're really not listening to you. So that feedback helps you adjust, because at the end of the day, the adjustment must happen on all sides. If you want the family to you want the family to do better, everybody's contribution matters. So everyone must be ready to listen. Okay, I was going to give you one interesting example, but let me pause there so that...
Welcome our dear sister, Justina Owejiri, who is a counseling psychologist with the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission Hospital. Welcome, my dear sister Justina. I want to just take it from where Sylvester left. He spoke about feedback. So we are doing both personal, couple, and family review before we go, and then we are looking at the reflections that a family needs to do, the individual needs to do, the couple needs to do, and then we're also looking at how we're going to realign, reset, withdraw for the next year. Yeah. How must any family that wants to be progressive and are doing the review from what Sale left us on, what must be the things that each member, both parents and children, must be aware of? 1, 2, give attention to, and then 3, work on, so that you can achieve a good review so far as a family. And what are some of the elements that are key? Then after I come to take us through her wonderful pastel process and all other things.
Yes. Thank you so much for the question. First and foremost, we should raise the family such that each member knows that we are unique and different in all aspects. So mommy, daddy, children are not the same, cannot be the same. And this brings us to personality, where temperament and all those things come to play. So once we understand that we are not the same, then we give room for each other. Like Papa Sil said, each other's opinion matter. So here we can give time for individual reflections, and then reviews, and then withdrawals, and then all those things, because we are not the same. Then after we come together, which communication is also a key. So if you don't communicate and you are just talking, these things might not work because you've been screaming, throwing words at each other, but not communicating. Then suddenly you are telling us to review, reflect in the year, and then come back and sit on the table. People might not be honest because good communication embraces criticisms and then gratitudes. So it's a combination. But usually in the family, we notice that in our part of the world, most parents are able to see the ills but not the good. So I'm drawing attention to the fact that whatever the case is, appreciate your children, especially those that you find problem, in quote, problem children, or you think they are difficult handling. Appreciate the fact that in all the difficulties, they've been there. Even understanding to eat the food you provide for them is a plus. So when you communicate this, you allow them to also bring their opinion, like Papa Seal said. And here, I would want us to pay attention to our emotional and mental well being. And it's the key to a good communication in the family. Then our spiritual life, our social and then relational life as a family. But all these things are rooted in the individual aspect. So when we get it as individuals, then we bring it on board. But where in the family we can't sit and talk, then how then do we reflect, review, redraw, reset? Others will be hiding information, critical
So
information.
let me ask, still on that tangent. If I'm a strong, if I'm a strong mom or dad, and I think that I gave birth to them, and so I know what is right for them, and let's say they are teenagers or early adolescents. Now adolescence starts even early, so they are from 9, 10 going on. What must a parent's posture be to get the honest feedback you're talking about? And must we use the word criticism or must we say feedback? What do you think about that? And what must a parent's attitude or posture be?
Ideally, it should be feedback.
Okay.
Ideally, it should be feedback. But starting answering the question well,
Yes.
no matter your temperament, you can live with other temperament.
Okay.
Once you embrace that you are not the same as the others, is the first key to all other issues.
So awareness
Then-
of self.
Awareness of self. And
Okay.
this one, we're talking about being intentional and deliberate. So we hope to achieve something. So you sit everybody down. Even if you won't use what they are saying, hear them. Hear them. And allow open and non-judgmental discussions, communication as a parent. Sometimes it could be, which food did I provide too much?
Okay.
And they will tell you because you realize that they've been wasting particular meal. And you keep talking. Find out why that meal is seem to be wasted. But if you keep being, I'm the mom, I'm the dad, it's my way or motorway, you won't achieve any. You still
Which one is the motorway?
you will not achieve anything. But we're doing this discussion to guide families so that we get out of the usual. You see, when we keep doing the old things and expect different results, it is not possible. So that is how it has been. But now we want you to spice up and make a difference and see how the family will do. So everybody down. Sometimes be a leader, don't be a head. Lead.
Okay.
You can lead from behind.
How
So-
do you do that?
So you can even set the table. Let, if you have an elderly child, let the first child lead or the last child or whoever you pick to lead the discussion.
Okay.
Then you take note as a parent where you need to come in, you come in not to impose, but to draw their attention, because you are still guiding them, you are still training them. So this that you are saying seems very good, but at this point, I suggest this will work. In fact, these are the best ways to raise today's child.
The white children, the white
Yes,
generation.
yes.
Why and why not?
Why, yes, because if not, they will ask you why. In our time, who are you to ask your parent why? And what would the answer change? But in their days, they are exposed to so much that there are things that they know the other side more than even you.
Okay.
So take advantage of that, and then hear them, what others are saying, what others are thinking, and then embrace it. When you don't know and they say it, put them somewhere. And if you can't ask them, so how are they able to do this? Let them teach you in the nice way than to build shields and defensive walls. Then you not help the family. So open conversation. When you need to get a new way, let them bring their ideas on board. Okay, you're saying that you want things to be done. How can we do it? What role will each of them play? So it's not like they are just saying it. So you want mommy and daddy to be at home and have time with you. Okay, how are you going to help as my child? Maybe there are things that you can do to help at home, but you are on your phone, you are delaying. So then I'm tempted to do them, and that takes me away from you. So they can contribute. They can in 2024 we had a research work, and then we're asking kids to tell their parents what stresses them. And then parents also tell children what stresses them. Now, when you are done, how are you going to help your parent deal with their stresses? Then the other way. Some parents were shocked. Things that they are thinking it stresses their children had nothing to do with stress for the children.
I see.
And things that they least expected were the issues. So there are some difficult children who are deliberately, like Papa Sly said, they are building shields because you are not listening to me. And some could say that they just want their parent to be there whilst they are doing the chores. Mommy should be there, or I want mommy to do it with me. And just that is okay for them. So let them help you know how they understand that it's a stage. They live in their world at the moment. All we have to do is to guide them. We are not supposed to impose and take every decision for them. Then how do we even correct them or bring them up the right way? If you allow them to take certain steps, you will not be able to help. So this is an advantage. That is why we are talking about this early. You have a whole month to finish the year, so you can at least start prepping and preparing them for these discussions. If you can't do it as early as possible, at least you have some ways to get them ready. I would want us to talk about this. So get ready, put them down. How much we spend money on what, and is it helpful? Do you want us to continue doing that? What is it that you want us to change when it comes to settling issues, conflict resolution? When I scream at you and you don't like it, you can't tell your parent, Mommy, I wasn't happy the way you spoke with me. It's a challenge, because today's child should be able to tell you. It's a feedback.
Some of today's children will tell you without you even asking.
Yes, those, it gets to a point.
It just depends on how you are handling it, because if you are extremely intimidating, they will not. They will just now keep themselves and be talking to other people.
Or even rebel.
Yeah, exactly. So
and then use the young ones use emotional blackmailing a lot. I know you will scream. So me, I know have done something wrong, but the face I come with, you are left. Everything not to say anything. I know I deserve some spanking or querying, but.
So if I'm hearing you right, you are saying there's a need for intentional awareness of self and that international awareness of the other members of the family to know their uniqueness.
Yes.
Then I'm hearing you saying there should be open and effective communication.
Sure.
There should be a non-judgmental posture so that everybody can contribute meaningfully to the review so you can get a good outcome. Ohima Tish, I'm on you now. This is your pet side. So please, I should give you a topic, but I should ask you a question. So I'll just start small, then you continue. Take us through some of the processes involved in a review. What must they do first the individual, if it's an individual doing for himself or herself, or if it's a couple, what are some of the things they must dwell on, or if it's a family, so they can get those good outcomes. In addition to all that, Papa Sale and Ohima Justina have said.
All right, so I think that we can look at, at Leader Freak, we have 10 categories or domains. We call them domains of life.
Okay.
And we believe that it's important that you're taking care of every single aspect of it. So the 10 domains are the work that you do, your finances, your social network, your family, love and romance, and we intentionally separate that because they're two different things, spiritual life, character, financial health, your intellectual life, your health, and your fitness. So these are 10 categories that I believe that first and foremost you can use to do your review. Now, in each one of them, you can ask yourself, and first do a self-introspection, but you can put this out there for the entire family. So what are the three?
Please list them again so somebody is listening.
All right.
I'm sure the question will come very shortly.
So
But
it is
please
health and
forgive me.
fitness.
Please
You have
forgive me.
to break.
Please, yes.
You have
No,
to
not
break.
not a break, but just to announce so that they will know. Please keep your messages, queries, questions, contributions, and even disagreements coming via WhatsApp or Telegram on 0549 986 996. Again, 0549 986 996. As we go along, how are you resetting? How are you reviewing? How are you realigning? How are you reflecting on 2025 so far? Yes. Madam, please list them again.
All right. So you're looking at your health and fitness. Then you come to your intellectual life. You're looking at your emotional health. You're looking at character. You're looking at love and romance. You're looking at family, and for those of you who do not have children, family you will have, or some mentors, people that you would have adopted. So it can go both ways. Social networks, financial health, work, or school career. So it depends on where you are. It's important to know the season of life that you're in right now. So that's one. Once you have listed out these categories, you can have one with the categories or the domains. The second one is the third one is the area of improvement. So that is good. So for each one of them, you're looking at what are the three things that I have published this year in this particular area. It's important to note that. And also, before you even do, it's good to look at it from January to November, because sometimes you miss things. I remember when we started the review process at work, we were sitting in a meeting and I had asked one person to do like a presentation for the rest of the year, and he had missed so many things. As we're discussing it together, we realized that we've done so much work. And so sometimes you miss things if you don't start from the very beginning. So start from the very beginning. Go through the year, travel through the year, and then you will notice and just take notes. So have a dumping paper, write everything down, and then you can begin to fit them into these domain areas. So what are the three major things that you had done? What are the things that you wish you wanted to? So perhaps 4 columns. What are the things that you wish you had done? So then what are the areas of improvement? Because then you need to be able to, for you to get an area of improvement, you need to ascertain what you had wished to do versus what you did, so that you know your area of improvement. So it is important that you know that. And if you don't, it's also a good invitation to ask yourself, what do I really want in this particular domain? It's also another question to ask yourself. And what did I achieve this year within this domain? Don't even begin to ask yourself why. Just notice where you are. We're just doing raw data. So where are you with each one of these domains?
Will it be good to apportion percentages maybe on a scale of 1 to 10?
It makes it easier.
Okay.
It makes it easier. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is the highest, what did I achieve? What are the 3 things? Why am I even saying I achieved it? So that's where the 1 to the scale comes in. But it's very important that you do that. So when we have reviews, we do it so that you can shade your circle and see whether it is your wheels will move or turn or not or be flat. So pay attention to some of those dynamics. But that's a good one. What is the activities that gave you the 80% of your results? I'm sure people have heard about the 80-20 principle. So what 20% of your activities have given you the 80% of your results? And then what 20% waste to the most of your time and money? So this is when you come to the financial part as well. Even in everything, literally has money. So even if you're looking at social life, your social networks, did you actually waste money? Did you gain money? Did you invest? Was it an investment or was it a waste of money? So you can look at it from all the different dimensions as well. And then you talked about, I think one of the questions to ask ourselves too is, even to ascertain what you want, is if you knew you wouldn't fail, what would you do?
Okay.
So what would you have done if you knew you wouldn't fail? What would you have done differently? And this is already moving you into next year, because then that's what you're going to use to make your new goals, to create your new goals. So if I knew I wouldn't fail, how would I have handled my work situation? How would I have handled my relationship? How would I have handled my money? How would I have handled my spiritual life? Would I have spent more time in the Word? Would I have been still a little bit more instead of running around? What would I have done if I knew I wouldn't fail?
Okay.
It helps with part of the process.
Teacher, I'm just curious, because most people will not set out to do anything thinking they'll fail. So I'm wondering why that question, because when you asked it, I was like, okay, what does this mean? Maybe you can throw a little more light on it.
Fear. So we were talking earlier about people running, flighting, being stricken into inaction.
Okay.
A number of us have huge
Apprehensions.
dreams.
Okay.
No, dreams.
All right,
We have
right.
all these big
Okay.
dreams. But deep down somewhere, we also believe that we feel that we're not enough,
Okay.
or we do
Right.
not have
those
goals.
dreams, right?
So then that in itself
Right.
prevents us from starting.
Okay. Right.
And sometimes all you need is one step forward, another forward, and another forward, and another
Right.
forward. So those consistent raindrops makes a mighty ocean, or it will bring about a flood or something.
Right.
But sometimes we're so afraid that we may encourage ourselves to take one bold step, and then we meet a little hurdle, and then we shut down.
Right.
So we don't go any longer, or we don't. And some won't even allow themselves to dream any longer. They're done. They're stuck.
So is it about the
Comfort
fear
zone.
of failure that is in it?
It
more
is
than
some of it.
expressed?
It's some of it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
fear. But it's so when it's okay. So fear can be looked at, and you're here. So fear can be looked at in multiple ways, right? Some fear is really at the root cause of it is that you don't feel enough. It's a self-worth issue.
Right.
At the root cause of all of this is that you don't feel enough. You don't think you have enough. You can debate it all you want, but the root cause of it is that you don't feel enough. If you feel enough, you'll figure out how to make enough to be done.
Okay.
If you feel enough, you'll be comfortable in your uniqueness and in your space. You'll be comfortable in your weaknesses, in your strengths. You'll be comfortable with what's happening around you, and you realize that, oh, this happened. Laugh at yourself. Let me go build character. Let me go build it this way. So yes, I respect personalities. I respect the fact that there's innate. I respect the fact that there's learned. I respect all of that. But at the end of the day, for you to move from point A to Z, there will be a few challenges. When we were coming here today, I'm sure we all fell into some pothole or something. So, or saw it and had to brake
A portion of
or
a
something.
portion of our road was flooded, and we're just asking this small rain. Christ,
A minute's rain.
I tell you.
Thank you. So these are some of the issues that, so yes, it's absolutely critical, but we need to learn to build these muscles as well. So I think for me, this is some of the things we need to do. And then we can finish this and come into the 90-day. But for those who are looking for the pastel to help, something to guide you through the process, you can look at pastel. The P in pastel is political, right? So this is where in a home you're looking at leadership and decision making in the home.
Right.
What you're looking at is how decisions were made. what processes did you go through to make the decisions? When the thoughts were coming into your head, did you course correct? Did you pause for a minute to pattern interrupt? Did it follow the same pattern you go through every single day? Because then it will mean that you get the same outcomes, even if you expected something differently.
Right.
Okay.
So how were those decisions made? Who took leadership roles in the house? Things happen at home, right? So did they sit for you to come and tell them what to do? Were they proactive enough? How have you supported your family to learn to be proactive? Whether it is your domestic support, whether it is your children, whether it is whatever it is in the workplace, who it is, have you empowered them enough to take certain decisions, or must they always rely on you to take those decisions? Those are very important.
So for a family, so for a family that has children between the ages of, let's say, like 5 to 10, is it necessary to help them develop age appropriate levels of responsibility as well?
Absolutely, without question. Without question. This is where it's important to bring your support system in.
Okay.
Because what I have observed is that for our house helps, nannies, etc., they basically don't want to create extra work for themselves, right? So, and they don't want you to come and shout at them. So they don't involve the children in these chores. Because go and wash the dishes. They're standing on a chair, then the water is all over the place, then them falling. Then so instead of putting in the systems to make sure that the child is safe and can still wash the dish, they would rather not. Right? Because they can't afford you to come home and say that the child fell and cut their little finger, something like that. So we need to bring them into this space because it matters.
Okay.
You have a bigger goal, they are part of the achievement of the bigger goal, so they cannot be left out. So how then do you support her to understand that these are little responsibilities that you're helping your children to master? Therefore, allow them to. If something happens, just pick up a phone and call me if it's an emergency. If it's not an emergency, you can't reach me, these are other numbers that you can call. Just tell me. If the plate breaks, just let me know. Because this is the place where let them learn.
Sadly.
Because usually they won't involve the children. And then did we manage conflict? There's conflict everywhere. We're talking about personalities. In a home, you can have multiple personalities depending on what you're looking for. Affection could be different. Control can be different. Everything is different. In the same one human being. And then you have yours. So if there's a family of 4, there will be conflict. No matter what you do. How are you managing that conflict? So how did you do that? How did communication flow? And you talked about communication much earlier. How did it flow? Was it top down? Was it bottom up? How did it flow? It's important that you figure that out. So some of the reflective questions is, did we make decisions together? Was it top down? Did the children feel heard? And you mentioned that earlier as well. Did parents communicate clearly? We have an exercise we do where you're telling somebody 10 to the left. Typically we'll do come, go. But that's not communication, right? If you that's not communication.
That's instructions.
That's instruction.
Exactly, right?
Go, and then 10 is it left or right?
Exactly. And how many steps should I take before I take the left or right?
Yeah.
So some of them must be very prescriptive. Others, you can let the child or the person that you're dealing with take a certain initiative as well. But some must be prescriptive. So how did you do it? And these are things that you can look at in the home from the political perspective, because that's leadership and decision making. Then you look at the E, which is economic. So you're looking at, the first E is economic. You're looking at money, saving, spending, financial stress, those kinds of things. You're looking at what were our biggest money wins this year. Where did most of our money go? First, where did it come from? Secondly, where did it go? Third, did we save enough? Did we invest enough? What unexpected financial shocks did we go through this year? Are we anticipating any in 2026 based on the current environmental or our own situation? What does that look like? how did debt, did you have debt? Did you have bills, inflation? How did all of that affect your budget system? Did you even have a budget system to begin with? So this helps you to understand what to cut, what to increase, and how to begin to save and invest. Absolutely critical.
Please. I've done some good talking so far. Alicia was taking us to the pastel model. We had done P for the political, looking at leadership and all the things that go with it. And we are on the first E, that is the economic. She's looking at money, saving, spending, the inflows and the outflows.
I
Please,
think we
please take
did
us
that.
on.
We
You
did
finished
that, yeah.
as well. Okay,
So we're
please,
looking
please
at the S, which is social, and the social is a relationship. So if you pay attention, this is taking you again through the domains, right? So you can see the domains in each one of them. So you're looking at social, which is relationships, your behaviors, which is character, and then the family culture that you're creating. What is that family culture that you're creating at home? This is how strong were our family bonds this year. Were we stronger? Are we closer? Are we further apart? Did we eat together, talk enough, check in on each other? Did we spend too much time on screens instead of each other? Did we actually talk? Were there unresolved conflicts? How do we resolve them before we even move into the next year? And how do we do better next year? Did we celebrate our successes, birthdays, and achievements? What does it mean to us? What do we want to do about it? So by the time you're done with this, you're looking at ascertaining maybe or deciding maybe 2 to 3 habits that will strengthen the family bond going forward. So that's social. Then the fourth one is technology. You're looking at devices, online behaviors. What is the footprint you're leaving out there? What if we went on your social media pages? What story would it say about you? What are you being conscious about your usage, or are you just not being conscious about it? Did we use technology more for learning or distraction? Because the technology can be very good. It is very good. What we use it for will determine whether it benefits us or it hurts us. So what did we use it for? Did we use tools like budgeting apps, learning apps, calendars? Were we learning anything online? Did anybody decide to learn an AI app? Did we do any of that, or did we just scroll? Did we lose money to online scams and overspending? How do we manage that as we move forward? So that's the T in technology. And what you're looking to do again is understand where the family system is, what you're doing with technology, and how you can adapt to technology better to help you achieve what it is that you want to achieve.
For those who are raising young children, say from 2 to like 10, please take us with you on this issue of technology and screen time and off screen time and boundaries and time sets. Are they necessary? Long hours of screen time, are they helpful? When our children are using AI for everything, is it helpful? Please take us on that briefly. Then
5 or 7, I think you should stay away from gadgets. I know parents or helpers, our support systems, will put them in front of TV, give them the gadgets because it's available, and then once they're on there, it takes up. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's just a pacifier, and therefore they won't cry. They won't. Some don't
distract.
even ask for food.
Yeah.
So
they
they're
can
just
be
there.
behind it for so long.
But it's very dangerous. So I would say that between that ages, as much as possible, still find, I don't care whether
Toys.
everybody says you're old age, it doesn't matter. Find them Legos, big ones they can play with that won't hurt them,
Exactly.
things that will help improve their brain. Because
Yeah.
the truth of the matter is, a number of people are no longer thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many phone numbers I have in my head because of technology.
Yeah.
But once upon a time, I could give you about 50 people's phone numbers off the top of my head.
Absolutely.
Today, I'm not able
Yeah.
to because I have outsourced that to my phone.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and without my phone, I may not be able to call 10 people.
Yeah.
So we need to begin to be a bit more mindful, and AI is going to make it worse.
You're right.
AI, what I tell my children to do anyway, is that it's supposed to aid you, not take away your head or your brain.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So if everybody is on there, putting in the same prompts, and now we're even teaching prompts.
Yeah.
So if everybody is there teaching the same prompts, how are you different from the other person?
Yeah.
You're no different. You need to be able to set yourself apart,
Yeah.
and you have set yourself apart. So stay on that trajectory, which means that you need to think through it for yourself.
Absolutely.
What am I trying to achieve with this particular assignment that I have? Once you know that, even your prompt is different, which means that it will bring you
A different
different outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When that happens too, you know what you're looking for. So go through it.
Yeah.
The painful thing is you have people using it for their CVs, etc., and they don't even bother to
You
review
don't
it.
correct it, yeah.
I don't understand that bit.
Yeah, that's
So go through it, but it's because first you have decided what is the bigger picture I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
What am I trying to communicate? What am I sharing with my audience?
right.
Once you have determined that, you have control. So you're in better control. You know where to lead it, where to guide it. But I think that it is here to stay. We shouldn't run away from it. We should rather make sure that it doesn't confiscate our intelligence.
Absolutely.
And for me, that's where the challenge is. I think between the ages of 7 and 10, depending on what your routines, the phones at home, or with them, just to guide them. It also depends on what the school or the other person, wherever you're leaving them with, will do. Which is why I keep saying it's important to bring your networks, your support systems into plans that you have, that bigger picture. You're allowed your phones. In some schools, once you get in, because they know children are taking Ubers, etc. these days, so their parents must be able to track the journey. So they need them. It's become a necessary tool. But is there a place that they can keep it when they get to school? So it's not
So
part
they're
of
not
their distraction.
distracted. Yeah.
When they close, then they can access to it to go home. When they go home, how long are they on there for? So in times like this, you may want to introduce like a 24-hour calendar that ensures that they have some screen time, but they also have off-screen time
Yeah.
to do other things. Still make sure they read books that they can touch,
Yeah.
feel, and
Yeah.
everything else. Because it gives you a different, it rewires your brain differently. So just make sure that they're able to do that as well. I think it's important.
Please carry on with the next E.
All right. So the next E is environment, the physical environment and your living conditions. We talked about the fact that things changed in Ghana, not just Ghana, everywhere this year. So in terms of our physical environment, we've changed governments, exchange rates, jobs. Now taxes are being reviewed. So there's a lot happening within our physical environment that we need to pay attention to. So what was our home organized or stressful? It's a simple one that you need to look at. Did we maintain a clean, peaceful environment? Did our neighborhood environment affect us in any way? Noise, security, water. Because if you live on a street that is being burgled regularly, suddenly there's anxiety in your home and you need to pay attention to it. It's just what it is. Because everybody is on edge, whether it is your sleep or not. It would affect your sleep patterns. It would affect the quality of your sleep. So these things are important to pay attention to, as it would affect your health as well. So did our routines overwhelm us or support us? Did we travel? Did we rest? Did we spend time outdoors? We're talking about technology. Now we can be in the same room and be on our phones and communicate. Did we spend time together, or did we think that was spending time together? So how is your environment shaping or influencing the rest of the life that you want to live? And then there's the legal framework, the rules, the boundaries, family agreements. And family agreements is important. Most of us don't want to talk about wills and things, but all of those things are important.
Yeah.
But did we have a clear rules for chores? We talked about chores earlier. Bedtime, money, behaviors. Did we write it down? Did we have an agreement about it? Was the agreement flaunted? Was it adhered to? Were household rules respected or ignored? Did we have issues with landlords, if you have one? School bills, insurance, contracts. So you're looking at the totality of your life, every aspect of your life. Did we stick to family goals, agreements, responsibilities? What were we able to do? What were we not able to do? So this is a good framework to share with the family and take time to go through it for themselves and then you can come together. I think earlier we've shared here before Sunday family enrichment times. So have a time. It could be Sunday, 1 hour after church. Typically, everybody has lunch, and then everybody takes a little nap. When you wake up, have an hour. So you can do this over a period. I think we still have about 3 or 4 weekends to go.
Weekends.
For the
Yeah.
weekends.
So you can take the P, you can take 1P, 1E, take care of it one weekend. Everybody shares, so listen to everybody. You can even do little post-it notes, but that's like those of us who train get in. But that's more, if you have a more kinesthetic family, you may want to do that. The more they do, the better. So, and then everybody puts it there, you read it, you see what are the emerging themes within this assessment or evaluation of the individual. What is it saying about the family? And what do we do differently? So if you can do this with the family before the year is out,
Awesome.
you will be doing great.
Awesome.
Super,
awesome.
super,
Yes.
super.
Let me just take a few of the messages and I'll come to you. Today I'm calling you Ohima Justina. Ohima J. And I have Ohima L. Yeah, me that. Hey, is that Mama Leticia? Yes, that is her. Good to hear your voice. You have no idea how much I have missed your voice.
Ow.
This Konedu Godwin from Anlonga.
Kondo.
Hey,
Kondo Godwin.
Mercy on my head. Super awesome happy birthday to my bro from another mom. My Kwame Kessie Frimpong, aka Kessie Ghana, Mike Kessie, a gospel artist and a member of Believers Home of Life Incorporated. Jehovah overdo will overdo
your imaginations.
proud of you always. That's what is it from the same, is it from Henry what?
Yeah, I think so.
That's from Henry what? Ngonu, formerly of Ebenezer Hill, JHS, Jonas Tinkren. Alright. Hi Farm Life. I'm grateful for the year 2025. We've achieved some good stuff as a family and are still hopeful for the ones we couldn't. As God has obviously been faithful to us, how do I manage a partner who trivializes the God factor? Does faith
That's a tough one.
actually matter in marriages, especially?
Mercy.
Are we?
Especially
Please
when-
continue for me.
Especially when marriage boundaries are being broken, we hope for a good 2026. Thanks for your good work. God richly bless all the panelists. I'm Amma from Chibleo. It's my birthday today, and I'm thankful to God through it all, the good and the bad. May His name be praised. Well, happy birthday to you, Amma.
from
Wish
Chibleo.
you all the best. Pray for
So
God's
can somebody
blessings in your
address,
life.
Lady Justina, can you address the issue of, he says, is the God factor necessary? Is, what do you say? The person trivializes the God factor and says, does faith actually matter in marriages? Especially when marriage boundaries are being broken. What are the boundaries that are being broken? We have been good for him to say, but please,
Yeah, but
what do you say? Then we'll go on
simply
to
what I would say is that faith matters in marriage, depending on where you're coming from. And then secondly, I always say that you have to learn to understand that there are two ways to live.
Okay.
One, identify what you can control,
Okay.
what you cannot control. You can control your faith, what you believe in, what you don't want to believe in, but you can't do same for the other person. So in faith, what you can do is to pray for the person.
Okay.
That's all you can do and hope for that. But you can't impose, because you can even tell the person A, B, C, D, and the person does not believe in that. What can you do? You can't kill yourself for that, because that won't be necessary. But what will help you is that identify that this one I can't do much about it. What can I do about how I feel about the whole thing?
Okay.
So the issue is how he is or she is feeling about the other person. So you have to work on your feelings. Why? Take note of why are you feeling the way you're feeling, and what can you do about the way you're feeling. When you put these things down, it will help you identify what to do. You are just over analyzing or over expecting the other person to put in certain actions. But when you work on how you are seeing the issue, you'll be able to know that, oh, this one, let me go low on that. This one, like choosing your battles, because you do much about the situation.
Right, awesome.
So maybe to
Yes,
chime in.
earlier.
Yeah. So faith. One of the things about faith and relationships is it's always good if you marry somebody who shares the same faith with you.
Okay.
It gives you peace of mind. It helps you know that you are aligned on many things. This is what you are both convinced about, and it's one of the fundamental building blocks when you're talking about relationship and marriage. That you share the same. Recently, the second family of the U.S. has been the news about the vice president saying something about the faith of his wife and all of that, And I thought it was a sincere wish he expressed, but people took him on the wrong side. If I belong to a different faith and I married you and you belong to a different faith, maybe my wish would be that you eventually be part of my faith, But better still, it's good to go into a marriage relationship with someone who shares the same faith. Recently, I was talking to someone who said that the father started off with them with a mother on the same faith somewhere along the line. I don't know whether he wanted to marry more women, so now he came back home one day and said that I have changed faith now, so I belong to a faith that believes you can marry 4 wives. That is complicated. So it's always good to have the same faith. It helps you pray together. It helps you share the same ideas. You always have a reference point. If you are Christians, you are both Christians, and your Bible is your guiding book. If you belong to another faith, whatever the tenets of that faith is, that becomes your guiding principle. So I would encourage people as much as possible to marry people who believe in the same, who share the same faith with them.
All right, I think there's a different dimension to this. It could be that they share the same faith, right? But it turns out that, when you get into a marriage tell situation, things change.
Right.
So it could simply be, not simply, because it's important, it could be that maybe the person is, for lack of a better word, overdoing the God factor.
Okay.
In that everything is Nyamebeye.
Okay.
And therefore,
Right.
but there's also a physical
There's a
aspect to
human
it.
part that should be
It's also
addressed.
possible that you're paying too much attention to maybe roles within that space,
Right.
neglecting the home.
Right.
So it is not just the person necessarily being dismissive.
Okay.
It is maybe them crying or inviting you to look at another alternative.
Okay.
Not alternative in terms of faith, but in terms of how you are portioning your time
Right.
and your resources to different things. So it could be that. So in cases like this, it's important to have a conversation to determine what is the person really asking of you. It's a request, right? But currently it's coming out as a criticism. So you're looking at it from different dimensions. But what is the person requesting for?
Right.
There's a difference between a request and a criticism. But underneath every criticism is a request.
Right.
And we were saying here that sometimes it's difficult for people to ask because we have probably put around certain boundaries, and it could be fear. Certain boundaries that when I go and say this, it might push us further away. It might split us. It might do that. So
Right.
based on all those things, you just dismiss it, or
Okay.
you have a certain posturing around it that comes across as dismissive. So it may not be that she's undermining or not paying attention, trivializing the God factor. Please do find out what the root cause is. What is she really asking of you? What does she wish you do differently? And then you can now know, based on that understanding, you will know what proper next steps to take.
Okay. Maybe just to add one little bit more. So the other side also could be that the other partner is overstretching the God factor. So I've met couples where one party is saying that you must, the scriptures say you must submit to me. So just do what I tell you, nothing else, and they've had
Mercy.
many banters about this, and even when the guy is clearly in error, he's telling her, I'm the head of the home. I mean, this time it doesn't even just tell him, hey, I'm the head. It says, I'm not just the head, I'm also a pastor.
Oh, so
which
double.
is extreme,
Yeah.
because it become manipulative,
Yeah.
and with the same faith that you share, and you are superly imposing, or how do I describe it? You are literally
Controlling.
overbearing.
Yeah.
You're choking your partner with the so-called faith that you're preaching, which is wrong. You know.
Now, now we want us to turn our attention to the third part, which is the race setting, drawing up into next year. One of the things I often tell everybody, including myself, often is the word influence as opposed to control. It's a very thin line, but it's a very significant one. Growing, helping, learning yourself so that those you sit with, whether it's your spouse or your children, would appreciate you more from the posture of influence than from the posture of control. Control often starts when they are very young. As they grow older, you can influence. But it takes a lot of effort to move from control to influence. Because first you must walk the talk, you have to model. Secondly, you have to train them. Training is instruction plus practice. And the third one is that you have to engage them so they can express freely, as you've said so far, where honest communication, non-judgmental cues, and all that are necessary. Now, let me come to you, Papa. So then I'll come to Justina and then Tish. Now let's look at 2026 is about a month away. The review goes along with the reflecting. So you are looking at where we are, as has been said. What were we able to get done? What were we not able to get done? Tish has given us the 10 domains. So you look at all of them. So take your time and then reflect on them. But now we are looking at going to next year, because it's good to plan now, not wait for the thing to come before you start planning. What are the things that people will need to look at in getting themselves ready for 2026, in line probably with the 10 domains that Tish mentioned, or any of the other areas as well? Yes.
Right, Mickey. Well, I think Tish has a fairly exhaustive list out there. So, I mean, she's talked about work, finances, social network, love and romance. Oh, Tish, I didn't hear you say much about the love and the romance. Yeah, but spiritual, character, health and fitness, intellectual life, emotions, everything. They are all key components of our life that we didn't lose sight of. Well, I guess there may be other things that people would talk about. But one of the first things that I want to mention here is that we don't even need to wait till the end of the year to set goals for the next year. So, yeah, goal setting is important. It's okay to do it for at the beginning of each year. What I want to highlight here is the importance of intermittent reviews. So when you set goals at the beginning of the year, be deliberate about putting in some major landmarks where you stop and reflect. The easiest probably is on a monthly basis. You're doing a regular monthly check to see how you're on track, or what is causing you to deviate. And then also, I mean, monthly may not be practical for each of the items. Okay, I mean, but there are some that you may set quarterly review plans. For others, you say, well, this is like medium term, so maybe half yearly we can look at how we're progressing. But for some, like you were talking about children, you're literally stopping at the end of each week to see how I'm doing with this my child that doesn't want to eat his or her food. So you can't wait till the end of the year to see whether you did well with that. And where you need to make adjustments, or the necessary changes to improve the outcomes, you do accordingly. So let's start by listing these things. Then let's look at the places where the big issues are, the big challenges are, and do the necessary weighting. I mean, applying the relevant
in
weights.
weight, not
Putting heavier weights on those that are the heavy issues or the
Okay.
big lifts compared to the lighter issues that you're doing quite well with, and based on that, you put in place your strategy for achieving the goals and then also reviewing as you go through the year. By so doing, you're sure that you are monitoring your progress in each of these areas. One of the things that tends to be a problem for us is that the ones that are big challenges or heavy lifts for us, we are tempted to avoid them. Let's take for instance, you have conflict management as part of the things you want to address this year, and the conflict is at home, and there is resentment, there's bad blood, there are all kinds of things that have happened in the space, and you know that probably this is actually getting out of hand, and you may need a third party to come in to support you. Now you're weighing between, shall I take the bull by the horns or shall I opt for the avoidance route? If you do the latter, you are just running away to come back and fight another day, as Bob Marley said, right? But it's important to realize that you cannot escape this conflict you need to resolve, because you would always live with it, especially if you are living under the same roof. So if what you need to do is to bring in the third party to support you, all well and good. Take the bold step, do it. Tell yourself that, look, we've tried this several times. We've tried to fix this and it's not working. We need help. Let's get this third party in to help us. And let's all have a mindset to learn, to listen, and to apply what we're being supported with. That way you are more likely to be on a trajectory towards achieving the goal in that area. The ones that we enjoy doing, the ones that are moving along quite well for us, they're always fun to do. Social life, social life is great, everything, but is that moving along very well at the expense of the other critical things? You love a lot of recreation, and that is costing you how much time you're spending on looking at your business or your work to make progress and probably bring in extra income, or even it's costing you time with the family. So you need to do the balancing as well. So one of the key things we should do as we plan for the new year is how well we are balancing our lives generally. And balancing is a difficult act. So it's important that we are deliberate about it. You may never get it right at any particular point in time, but you come closer to achieving what you set yourself, you set out to do, if you are deliberate. You're at these things that you map out. So you need to spend time looking at the children's homework or supporting them with the homework, spending time with them, telling them stories. I don't know whether parents still tell their children stories, but spend time, tell them stories, and let them, and it could even be your own life story, not in a way that you are telling them this is how we live, so we want you also to live this way because the world has changed. But the lessons you learned from your childhood that have helped you up to this point are always useful in sharing. Sometimes you think the children are not listening, but that becomes some solid foundational blocks that they grow up with, and they will say, my dad always used to tell me, I remember Marie Rose, she's always talking about her dad and the things that dad told her, so they are critical, and time to share these with the children is very important. Then work that brings income, work at home, helping the children build the attitude and mindset of consistent working and doing things well, because sometimes we give them work, depending on the tone in which you give the instruction, they'll say, okay, let me just do it to please them. And they actually will do it not to please you or to irritate you, because they'll do it in such a way that you come back and say, oh, did you say you actually did this work? So spending time to groom the children to appreciate what is called good outcomes when you do a task helps in a very friendly way. And even when you model it, it's much better, you know. I was amazed that one day I traveled and my daughter called me and say, "How do you start the mower?" Because mowing the lawn is one of my favorite things. I mean, I do it a lot of times. And I was like, "You want to do it?" She said, "Yes." Okay, so I said, do this, do this. Then when she was done, she didn't know how to stop it. So she calls again. And I guided her and she did it. You know, for me that was very gratifying that she took the initiative. She saw the grass was overgrown. I was away for some time. She knew I wouldn't come back, and she was willing to do it. So that appreciation alone tells you that you've achieved that goal. You know, so it's important to get them to appreciate that cleaning the house is for your own good and it's for the good of all of us. We cannot live in a dirty environment because that will make us eventually fall sick. You know, so basic things like that help. So let's place a lot of weight on difficult tasks and give it a lot more attention as we go into the year. And then let's do the balancing act, because all these 10 elements and maybe a few more contribute to helping us become very rounded families, very rounded individuals.
Ohima J,
I'm here.
Lady J, what must be the mindset in going to natural plan? What are some of the things that they would need to do? Okay, they will need to do and work on so they can have a meaningful 2026.
2025 is gone.
Yes,
almost gone.
Going on from the review and the necessary reflections. Yes. Please do it quickly because our time is almost up. I can't believe that. I come to Tish and then.
So I will simply put it this way: clear your mind, heal your heart, renew your spiritual life, set new boundaries if necessary. Relationships, redefine your goal, recognize your finances, recommit to your purpose. This is how I'll put it.
Please front us to again. Start from the beginning quickly, please.
Okay, so clear your mind.
Clear your mind.
Heal your heart.
Heal your heart.
Renew your spiritual life. Set new boundaries. Clean your environment. Refresh your habits. Rebuild your relationships. Redefine your goals. Recognize your finances. And then recommit to your purpose. And these things shouldn't bore you. Put a book down as a family. Every morning. This is the easy way to go. When your kids have started school and they can read and write, let them write what they need to do every day. Break it into areas. So before school, when you wake up, what would you do? Let them write. Don't say it, guide them to write. When they return from school, what will they do? Before they go to bed. This is where you put in the time in. So you can watch TV for this time. You can be on screen for this time, that time. Agreed on. So when they are going over, you can prompt them. We agree that you are not imposing. You've all agreed. And don't get bored. In the process, develop an attitude of gratitude. One thing that you are thankful for when you wake up and before you go to bed. And let the young one also practice that. This is where you look at your child and say, thank you for understanding me. I couldn't drive you to school and you agreed. Thank you for that. And the child should look at the parent and say, Mommy, thank you for paying my school fees. Because some people have been in school the whole year. Nobody has said you haven't paid your school, go home. And you think it's by chance. It's just a privilege. Tell your parents, I'm grateful for the food you give to me. Because some people get the meal you throw away as their Christmas something. So let's build all these habits in the young ones, and then it will help us enjoy life as a family.
Awesome. Ohima Tish, please conclude on us, and then after, please tell me about GTAP. So conclude first and tell me about GTAP.
I think for me, it's important that you ascertain what it is that you really want. A number of us know what we don't want, but we do not know what we want. So understand what it is that you want, and have a 90 or 100-day contract. You know, when the governments take over office, they always have a 100-day what they're going to achieve. It helps if you have a 100-day plan for yourself going
Right.
into the next year, using the different domains, looking at the different pastel frameworks. So do that, and I believe that you will do well. If you want more information on how to do this, you can look us up on YouTube on Leader Freak TV. We have a number of information there to help you expand and make sure that the review and the reset happens very well for yourself.